Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back. Today is October 31st. It is my 12th year anniversary. That's right, I got married October 31st, 2009, 12 years ago. But today I want to talk about my 4-year anniversary to my wife, what I got for her. So here it is. This is actually a clock that I had made out of 100% marble, and it has my daughter's face on it from birth to 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, all the way up to a year. The inspiration was this photo that we had at home where we had, all the pictures of her around. Now, what I'm going to talk about not only is how I made this piece slightly, but more about the story of how she got it, because that is the real unique part in this story. So, to start, May 2003, I booked a cruise as a surprise for my wife she didn't know about for October, November of 2003, 6 months in advance. Literally a week after I booked this cruise, my family approached her and myself, her family, and want to do a family cruise in the fall. Okay, well, I already booked one. My wife doesn't know about it. They don't know about it. But I go ahead and I say, okay, let's go. Well, that's when I noticed something. So the cruise they booked, if we look here, is actually on October 9th is going to go to the Bahamas. And then on the cruise that I had booked, it is October 30th goes to also Nassau, Bahamas. So we're going to go to the same stop. And that got me thinking, what if I could make something for her to where I could do a scavenger hunt where I hide items at the Bahamas, leave the island, and come back 3 weeks later, and then she finds the items. Now, on top of this, is there a way that she doesn't even know I set it up until the very end? Well, that is what I set out to do, and that's what I want to explain. So now, again, you've already seen the piece. Here it is. It's this clock right here. And so I had to make this piece without her knowing. So one of the first things I did was I used to do some carpet cleaning, and I had this carpet cleaning class I could go to for free, actually, because I had taken it before, and it was far enough into Atlanta that I could justify staying at a hotel. So it was a 2-day class. I stayed at a night at a hotel, and I brought this to the hotel. And actually, while I'm staying there in the hotel, and here's a picture of the hotel. In fact, and now it's Hampton Inn. But it's funny, when I booked it, there it says there was a spacious work area in one of the descriptions. So that's actually what I did. In the hotel, I was able to take and, draw onto the piece. Now, let me explain this real quick. So I'm going to pull up Photoshop and show you what I had to do to these images, because to make it a little simpler, so I have Photoshop, and if I pull an image up, then I add a filter here in the filter gallery, which is called Stamp. And Stamp is a really neat filter because it gives just a single color, black and white, and then I can mess with these sliders and I can get to where it gives a different type of detail, and I'm able to much easily, transfer this onto a piece of marble. Okay, so that's how I prepped the image. And then what I used was a Dremel, okay, which actually is, this tool, and that is the bit you're looking at, is this little bit right here. So that bit is what I used in order to get into the tile. So now if there's a closer look here, I actually dremeled into this marble, and it caused these little caverns, and then the black is just paint. So all I did was draw on the stone, which again, we'll go back to the photos here. I drew on the stone, all these different ones in preparation, and then I started to etch them out. Here's the big one as well. So then I, again, started to etch them out, where I just took the Dremel and basically drew on it. And then after I was done with that, I just took some paint, painted the entire surface, and then clean it off. See, if you notice, of course, in this picture, there's no clock or anything like that. All right, so that's making the piece. All right, that's step one. Well, now I have to get it to the Bahamas. So I had to get it onto the cruise ship. Now, again, this was a family cruise that we were going to go on. So one of the things that I had to get through was security. So bringing on this piece and these other small pieces in my suitcase, I did get stopped at security and they opened it up. Now, fortunately, since it was a anniversary cruise, at least my wife thought so, she thought it was just a gift I had for her, which really it was, but not one she was going to get on this cruise. So I was able to go through security alone. They opened the bags. I kind of told the story. In fact, what they actually saw too were these carnival container little lunch things, because there were two of the small circles in each one of those, and then the big one, which I'll explain in a second. But so I got onto the boat. Well, now when we got off at the Bahamas, I wanted to go with my brother. He had just turned 18, so another good alibi. I told my wife, well, he's 18, we're going to go drink, because you can drink in the Bahamas at 18. So we rented some mopeds, and I had all the stones with me in a backpack, and then we went. We had no idea where we were going to go. We were just riding around the Bahamas until we finally just found the perfect place, which happens to be this beautiful place. This actually used to be a Marriott hotel and now is actually an all-inclusive resort called the Malaya. So it looks like a really pretty place. But so at the front here, we had noticed there was a lot of beds with some bushes that perhaps we could hide everything under the bushes. What made it a little better too is that there were actually people trimming the bushes when we went. So we talked to the people and said, hey, how often you guys trim the bushes? And, it was every couple months or so. So they weren't going to be disturbed by workers for, at least a couple months. So inside the sandwich containers, I had put a note that said, if you find this, please put it back. I put like a quick story about it in each of the ones. And so we hid them in the beds, underneath the bushes, maybe put a little bit of sand over it. And that was that. But now we had the big piece. Again, if we look at this quick look, the big one in the center, well, what are we going to do with that? Well, so we walk into the hotel and there's a gift shop. So I go into the gift shop. They have big glass windows up front. I talk to the staff and I say, hey, listen, we're going to be back October 30th. It's a Wednesday. Will you be able to take this piece, don't lose it, but that day put it on display in the window? I told them what I did outside and everything, and they said they could do it. I was a little nervous, but I said, okay, well, here you go. So I trusted them to do that. So we'll find out in a moment if that happened or not. So then we go back to the ship. We get on. We finish our cruise. We're having a good time. My wife doesn't know anything happened. I just have a picture here, which I thought was cute. My daughter, and that's actually my brother. I have a young brother playing some of the big chess, and I guess they got tired of that and then just started tackling the pieces. But yeah, had a fun cruise. We get off. What's interesting, my wife, of course, got me some sort of anniversary gift. I got her nothing, because I had all this planned. I knew there was another cruise. Now, she didn't know that, so that was kind of funny that she didn't get anything, and thought she should. But that worked out. So we get off. A few days before the actual surprise cruise, I tell her about it. So I let her, not know about it, and then I tell her. So she's excited. Then we go on this cruise, and I had things planned for that cruise. So we had decorated the room, other little cool things, of course. You can tell Carnival you're having your anniversary, so they do these special things with the towel animals and everything. Had ordered something for every day, like chocolate-covered strawberries. We got this chocolate ship. We got matching cakes, and we got lots of chocolate and all sorts of amazing things. So that was fun. But here's the big part. Now, I wanted her, again, to go on this scavenger hunt to find the items, because she still doesn't know anything about these items. On the first cruise, I made a very specific point to go back to guest services to tell them that we had gone to the Sheraton Hotel and that we ate lunch there. Because on the first cruise, after we hid the items, we had called our family, said, hey, this place is cool, come over here. You can do a beach day, you can eat food, and we did that. We went to the Sheraton, enjoyed our time. And when we were on the boat, we told guest services about that. And I made sure my wife was there when I was specifically talking about that. So then on the next cruise, this is where all the fun started. I made some documents, starting with this one. So this one basically says, congratulations, you've been selected to do a sample excursion that Carnival is offering. If you want to do it, come to guest services. So this is where all the fun starts. So I told my wife I went to guest services, and then when we had left the room one day, I maybe went back to like go get something I forgot. I put a packet like it was slid under the door, and then when we came back, so the packet had all these documents, okay? Now, these are like cardstock, glossy, real, nice, laminated documents that look legitimate. Okay, so here was the first one, was actually this Carnival document. I'm just going to read some of it just to show you kind of what it says. So it says, in our records, we show you have recently sailed on the Carnival Ecstasy, and guest services made a note you visited the Sheraton during your travels at Nassau. So she believed that. Here at Carnival, we're always searching for new fun adventures for our guests to experience. We've handpicked guests to try our new excursion and are pleased to have you participate. In this packet, you'll see a few documents, okay? So again, I just highlighted some of the stuff I read. Feel free to pause and read the whole thing. But here was a document with the instructions, with how to do it, a questionnaire to fill out. There was a what the internet what it would look like if you bought the excursion online. I made one of those. This was a little copy of brochure type front page thing for the Sheraton to try to push them. So tried to make it look absolutely legitimate, like this was from Carnival. And my wife definitely bought it. Hook, line, sinker. So it talked about transportation in there too. It said there was no official transportation, but you could take the number 10 bus, and when you got off the boat, it told you exactly what to do. So that's what we did. So we got off, we get on this bus, and we're going to go to the hotel. What's really scary is that while we're doing all of this, my wife is telling people about it. So while we're on the bus, she's talking about this excursion that Carnival's sending us on. And it's really funny because one person was like, wow, that's really strange. They don't have official travel. And I'm just thinking in the back of my head, oh no, she's going to find out. But never really doubted it at all. So when we get to the hotel, again, remember, here's a photo of the front. Okay, I had hid everything in these beds. So we start walking up, and I find one right away because I knew exactly where it was. So then my wife sees it. The instructions specifically said don't open the items until you collect all of them. So we just kind of kept them together. Again, here's another photo. They were all throughout the front, the right side, 6 of them. And I should have had better instructions or remember where I put them, because one of them took a very long time to find. But I eventually found it. All right, so now we're at the point that I was so nervous about. Are we going to walk in and go to that gift shop and see the big piece on display? Did they lose it? Did they forget about it? What happened? Well, so as we walk in, see the big glass, we walk towards the front. And this is what we see. Zoom in a little bit more, and there it is. There is the big piece. My daughter at 1 year old. My wife stops, does recognize, and says, is that our daughter? I'm like, yep, it sure is. So we get the piece, we go to the table, okay, we lay everything out, and there we go. We have all the pieces. So then my wife starts to open it all. She's still at this point didn't realize it was something I did until she finally opened them all and saw it was the clock of our daughter, and then was able to kind of piece together that this was all just an elaborate ruse. So here's all the paperwork we had brought with us. She started filling out the questionnaire, which is cool. So I zoom in on some of this here. She said, are the items easy to find? She rated it 5 out of 10 because they were hard to find, and said there should be more instruction on how to find them, which again, I definitely agree. So it was very hard to find. So then when I got home, well, it's funny. I had to carry that on a backpack back to the ship, very heavy the rest of the way carrying this thing. Then when I got home, of course, I had to put it all together and put the clock together. So here's a little bit of the back of it. I actually used marble pieces, and I used a adhesive glue, and that's how I put it on the back, so that way you can't really see it from the front. It just looks like straight marble, and it hangs on the wall. And that is the story of my 4-year anniversary gift that I gave to my wife and how I did it. So thank you again so much for taking the time to watch. Please like it. Please subscribe. I may put some more videos out, so I appreciate all your support. And please share the video. Feel free, share it, give it to anybody you want to enjoy. And I thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.